Hello, hello, hello. How's everybody doing today? Brother John Stewart on behalf of Lost Sheep Ministries, here to take y'all on another little walk with the word for the day. Man, I got a lesson for y'all today, boy. I've been reading the book of Isaiah. It's been hard to pull some stuff out of it because it's just a really complex book and the things that he's talking about, you know what I'm saying? But when I read this story here, I said, oh boy, we got us one tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into it because I want to make sure I have time to get in my comments before the video ends. So I'm going to share with y'all the lesson out of Isaiah 39. I'm going to read the whole chapter because it's only 8 verses. But man, there's a powerful truth in here that we need to heed if we're going to make sure that our future generations are going to be secure. So in Isaiah chapter 39, the Lord tells us this. He says, at that time, Mordecai Baladan, and I hope I said that right, the son of Baladan, king of Babylon, sent letters and a present to Hezekiah, for he had heard that he had been sick and was recovered. And Hezekiah was glad of them and showed them the house of his precious things, the silver and the gold and the spices and the precious ointments and all the house of his armor and all that was found in his treasures. There was nothing in his house nor in all his dominion that Hezekiah showed them not. Then came Isaiah the prophet unto King Hezekiah and said unto him, what said these men? And from whence they came unto thee? And Hezekiah said, they are from a far country unto me, even from Babylon. Then said he, what have they seen in thine house? And Hezekiah answered, all that is in my house have they seen. There is nothing among my treasures that I have not showed them. Then said Isaiah to Hezekiah, hear the word of the Lord of hosts. Behold, the days come that all that is in thine house and that which thy fathers have laid up in store until this day shall be carried to Babylon. Nothing shall be left, said the Lord. And of thy sons that shall issue from thee, which thou shalt beget, shall they be taken away, and they shall be eunuchs in the palace of the king of Babylon. You see what flossing gets you? Got him in trouble. So before I read the last verse and y'all see his response, I just want to reiterate the severity of this prophecy that Hezekiah had just received and make sure you fully understand what's being told, what he's being told. First of all, it was a prophecy because this was a direct word from God foretelling future events. So that means this wasn't just a possibility that this is going to happen. It's going to happen. You know what I'm saying? It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So he's just been told that at some point in the near future, everything that's in the kingdom at that time will be taken away, and also all of his future generations are going to be taken away as well. Because not only were they going to be taken captive because Babylon is going to come and capture the city, but the males will be eunuchs. And just in case you don't know what a eunuch is, it's a man who has no balls. That's what a eunuch is. You see what I'm saying? Because back in the day, if you worked in the palace, you had to be a eunuch because you were going to be spending a whole lot of time around the king's wives and the king's daughters. You know what I'm saying? And the last thing a king wants is for them to be impregnated or be hooking up with some lowly servant or some slave. So in order to ensure that this didn't happen, they just went on and cut the balls off and they didn't have to worry about it. And you know what I'm saying? And without no balls, sorry y'all, and without no balls, you can't get no kind of loving and you definitely not going to be making no babies. You see what I'm saying? So there goes his future generations right there because they said it was his kids that's going to be eunuch. So now as a father and as a king, this should be the moment that you spring into action. You know what I'm saying? He should be breaking down and ripping his clothes to show that he was in mourning and he was in true repentance. Then he should have humbled himself by sitting in sackcloth and ashes, you know what I'm saying, and praying to God for forgiveness and mercy and hope that God will repent and reconsider, just like he did when Jonah went down to Nineveh and gave them the word and he saw they humbled themselves and repented. God didn't do what he said he was going to do and destroy them. So that's what he should have been doing because he was just told that because of what you did, because you sitting out here trying to floss, your kingdom is going to eventually lose everything, you know what I'm saying, including your future generations, because your grandsons are not going to be able to reproduce because they're going to be eunuchs. So you would think that would be his response because those were the kind of things they did to show when they was really in distress. You know what I'm saying? They would rip their clothes to show they was mourning. They would put ashes on their head and they would sit in sackcloth. That's what they would did. But the way he responded blew my mind. And I couldn't even comprehend or fathom his mentality. Because his response to this devastating news that he just got, that eventually, because of his action, they're going to lose the kingdom and all his future generations, his response to that was simply, man, F them kids. And that's what he said. That is how he responded, man, F them kids. I kid you not, I'm not making it up. That's literally what he said. Because we finish out the chapter and we read verse 8. In verse 8, he responded by saying, good is the word of the Lord which thou hast spoken. He said, moreover, for there shall be peace and truth in my days. In other words, F them kids. We gonna be straight. I'm not worried about them. Let them deal with that. You see what I'm saying? So he basically said, F them kids. And I know that's the new trend, and we like to say F them kids and put them in memes and stuff. But to me, that was the ultimate F them kids right there. Because you see, he's not concerned at all with the tragedy and the chaos and the destruction that the future generations are going to have to deal with because of his action. So again, F them kids. And to me, that was such an unexpected response from a king of his stature, because he wasn't just a regular, ordinary king. You know what I'm saying? He was actually listed as one of the greatest kings to ever live, even over David himself, which God said was a king after his own heart. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to righteousness in the eyes of God, it said Hezekiah was the greatest one, because when it talks about him, it says there was no king before him that was like him, neither after him. And David came before him, so David was included in that. So yet, even though he was said to be one of the greatest kings when it came to the righteousness in his heart, he had this mindset of no concerns for future generations, just as long as the things were good for his generation and all him and his buddies got to enjoy a good life. That is insane to me. You know what I'm saying? As long as they got to enjoy themselves, they'll be all right. He wasn't worrying about it. And I know it's easy to look at this story and look at dude and be like, man, he really was a piece of crap. You know what I'm saying? And it's easy to look at him and judge him. But guess what? We're doing the exact same thing in our generation. We've got so far away from God, and the things that we start allowing our kids to see and be taught, we're doing the exact same thing. We're saying F them kids. You know what I'm saying? We stopped whooping our kids a couple of generations ago because society and doctors started saying it was the wrong thing to do, even though you get in the Bible say, a lot of people like to say you spread a rod, you spoil a child. But the Bible actually said if you spread a rod, you hate your child. So if you're not spanking your child and you're not disciplining your child when they need to be disciplined, guess what you're saying? You're saying F them kids. You know what I'm saying? We let them sit up all night playing these violent, inappropriate video games, or getting on the internet on TV and watching all these violent, inappropriate shows. What we're doing, we're saying F them kids. You see what I'm saying? When we're not working to conserve all of our natural resources so that future generations can have clean water and clean air and good healthy food that's not contaminated with all kind of chemicals, what we're saying is F them kids. You know what I'm saying? We're not using our money and our resources that we currently have wisely. So we're not leaving behind trillions and trillions of dollars of debt, which is exactly what we're doing right now. We're leaving it for them to deal with. We're saying F them kids. When we allow them to spend hours and hours immersed in social media and all the fakeness that's on social media, but we never insist that they spend a little time in the Bible to get them some truth, you know what we're saying F them kids. When we teach our kids it's okay for a woman and a woman to be married, or a man and a man to be married, even though them being married, they won't be able to reproduce, what we're saying F them kids. That's what we're doing when we allow this stuff to happen, making it laws. When we, you know what I'm saying, when we teach all these weird ideologies in our school, and we got textbooks and school books that's teaching our kids that a girl can be born in a boy's body, or a boy can be born in a girl's body, and it's okay to get that changed and to get themselves mutilated and get their private parts chopped off and put on the one that they prefer, and then have grown men dressed as women coming and reading to our kids and doing all the kind of provocative dances in front of them so we can normalize this stuff. What we're saying is F them kids when we doing stuff like that. When we don't work to lay down a foundation of Jesus Christ for the future kids, for our future generation, so that they can live by the same mercy and grace that has sustained us all these years, we're saying F them kids. There used to be an old saying during the Great Depression. It was use it up, word out, make it do, or do it out. And that was the mindset of a nation that truly cared about future generations. But we've gotten so far from God, our favorite slogan is F them kids. My, how the mighty have fallen. And that has been your little walk with the word for the day.